Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you're all doing great. So in today's video, we're talking about amber fragrances. Now, I've spoken about amber fragrances many times on the channel. I have a video with a number of amber fragrances. And so in this video, I am talking about the other amber fragrances in my collection. So you will not hear or see the usual suspects like Serge Lutens Ambre Sultan or the Andy Tower Amber or Ambre Aurea by the House of Parfumum Roma, one of my favorites. And you won't see Chanel's Le Lion. So in this video, I want to talk about the other amber fragrances that I have in my collection, some that I touched on in various videos. I thought that it would be a great idea to compile the fragrances and talk about them in one video. And so we have 10, and that was not by design. It sort of happened that way. I think it was 8, and then it was 9. And then I decided to include one that sort of wasn't coming to mind for this video initially, and then it was staring me right in the face, and I realized that I will include it. It's my scent of the day. It's from the House of Guerlain, and this is Shalimar, the Eau de Cologne. And so this is a discontinued gem. It is a beautiful iteration of Shalimar. It is a sort of airy, lightweight version of the Shalimar scent profile, and it is absolutely stunning. I really enjoy this. I have 2 bottles of this fragrance because each of them cost me, I think at most $40, worth every single penny. And so I keep one in my bedroom on my dresser, and I like to wear this to bed, and I can spray it freely because I have a backup bottle of this one. It's a 75 ml. I'm not sure if it comes in any other size. I think the Eau de Cologne does come only in the 75 ml. I love it. It's ambery, it's sweet, but it's thinned out, it's airy, it's fluffy. And what's interesting is that even though this is sort of an airy take on the Shalimar scent profile, as it develops on skin, you do get that texture. And if you have ever gotten your nose on any of the vintage Shalimar fragrances, the vintage bottles, they are absolutely stunning. The texture in those fragrances, you just can't get in the modern version. And I do get somewhat of a texture, even though this is a light, sort of fluffy, airy take on Shalimar. So this is my scent of the day, Shalimar Eau de Cologne. So the next one is from the House of Bvlgari in the Gemme collection, a collection that I'm not too familiar with, although I do own a 1-ounce travel size of Aurum, which is a nice fragrance. I'm still getting to know it. I enjoy it. This one is called Ambero, and this one was released in 2016. And if we're going to talk about the packaging, I'm not really a big fan. It's a quite heavy, very odd shaped bottle in my opinion. It feels like a spaceship, and at the top, on the top of the cap is a gem, I guess, La Gemme collection. I'm not a fan, and I'm not sure that this fragrance is here to stay in my collection, even though I do find it to be a well-made fragrance in my opinion. It's smooth. It's an amber, but not a classic amber fragrance. So if you've never gotten your nose on this one and you're thinking something like Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Grand Soir, which I think is a popular sort of straight up amber that people think of when they think of amber fragrances, this one is not a classic sort of amber scent profile, like a Grand Soir, let's say. It opens quite fresh. There's ginger in this fragrance, so it opens quite fresh and airy and kind of light. And even though you have this sort of freshness from the ginger and you have some spices in here, you do get warmth from an ambery sort of hint in the backdrop, but I feel like it's in the backdrop. It takes a back seat. It's at the base of the fragrance. So it is ambery, but it's amber taken into a fresh, gingery sort of citrus direction, but not zingy. I find it to be creamy and smooth. I would not use the word zingy to describe the ginger and the freshness that I get in here, but what I did notice each time that I wore this, right after that sort of gingery, fresh, ambery opening, I get something clean but masculine clean, almost barbershoppy clean. I'm not sure where it's coming from. It's not aromatic. It's not barbershoppy in an aromatic way, but it has a clean, gentleman sort of vibe, if that makes sense. There's something clean, but in a masculine sense to my nose. So yes, it is ambery, but it's a light take on amber. In the backdrop, in the distance, you have that sort of Grand Soir ambery aspect. It is very smooth, and in the dry down, there's something fluffy and almost citrus-like, but not zingy, about this sort of clean ambery scent profile. Smooth and nice. It does seem high quality, but to be honest, for me personally, I don't think that this is something I'm going to be reaching for. So this one may be on its way out. So that is Bvlgari Ambero. Next is from the house of Perfumehead, and this is LaLa Love. I recently spoke about this. I went through all of the Perfumehead samples in my discovery set of 9 samples, and I did end up with a full bottle of this because I got such a great price. And this is an amber fragrance. This is a thick, rich, syrupy amber fragrance that has spices that to me sort of come off like saffron. I feel like there's an abundance of saffron in here, and it comes off woody as well. It's definitely a full-bodied, rich, dark sort of amber. There is sweetness, and it is slightly synthetic smelling, if I'm being honest. I do sense a synthetic quality in this fragrance. I enjoy it. I like it. I'm not wearing it a ton because I tend to reach for amber fragrances that are a little less maybe synthetic smelling. But this is nice. I do get why people like this. If you like a sort of full-bodied, sort of rich, thick, and you like saffron, you might enjoy this one. And like I said, I get woody touches as well. And there's a sweetness that doesn't come off like a sugary sweetness. It's more like a syrupy, sort of dark sweetness that comes along with this full-bodied sort of take on amber. And this is an extrait in concentration, as are all the Perfumehead fragrances. So that is LaLa Love. The next one is from the house of Humbert, and this is Mon Boudoir. Now, this, I would say, takes amber into a sweet direction and also a feminine direction. Very ladylike, sort of classy amber fragrance. Of all these, I feel like this one is definitely a ladylike, feminine take on amber. Yeah, so you do have sort of this like Grand Soir amber in here. So if you're familiar with Grand Soir, you have that element in here along with maybe a little bit more sweetness along with florals. So there's rose, there's iris, there's ylang ylang in here. And that is what brings this into a sort of feminine direction, I think. But then you also have this muskiness, and I definitely get the muskiness and the patchouli in the base. So it is a little sweet, yes. It's not sugary sweet, I will say. So I'm not saying that this is a synthetic sugary sweet fragrance. It's not. The sweetness in here is definitely sort of coming along with the amber scent profile. So it is similar to the sweetness in Grand Soir. I would say that it is similar and reminds me of Grand Soir. So imagine Grand Soir with the patchouli in the base, a little bit of muskiness, and the florals in here as well. So it's definitely a classy fragrance, and I think it's really well done. It's very smooth, and it's not a sweetness that puts me off. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm saying that this one is an uber sweet sort of synthetic fragrance. It's not. It's smooth and really, really nicely done. It's fluffy. There's a fluffiness to this one, and I think this one has a lot of fans. Love the packaging. So that is Mon Boudoir by Humbert. The next one is from the house of Guerlain, and this is Ambre Samar, which I've spoken about. Now, this one is not a usual sort of scent profile for me personally, not a usual fragrance that I would normally wear and have in my collection. But I do have a bottle of this because it's a tester. I got a great deal. And this is a sort of thick, rich, gooey amber fragrance. It is quite sweet. The sweetness is not a sugary sweetness. It is a sweetness that comes from a gooey honey. So there is this gooey honey dripping all over this amber with touches of tobacco. So I feel like this smells somewhat, I'm not saying identical, but somewhat like the tobacco honey in the Black & La Matière line of fragrances, which is a more expensive line in the house of Guerlain. And so I was always on the fence about that one. I have a decant, I always go back to it, but I'm not motivated enough to purchase a full bottle. It's not really my thing, but then once in a while, I do sort of crave scent profiles like this that are rich and thick and gooey and, yes, a bit sweet. And I will say there is a synthetic element to this. I have to be honest that I'm not a fan of. There is that synthetic quality that I don't get from tobacco honey. So that is Ambre Samar. I think this one has a lot of fans as well. So the next one is from the house of Stephane, Humbert Lucas, and this is Hira. And this has a lot of fans as well. I've had this for about a year in my collection, and I've never spoken about this one. So right from the get-go, this is a rich, dark amber fragrance, a full-bodied, complex, definitely a complex fragrance. I feel like this one is in the world of Ambre Loup by the house of Rania J. So it's rich, it's thick, it's a dark amber with vanillic components. The vanillic components in here are dark and syrupy, and I get oudy touches. So along with this sort of rich, dark amber that has some sweetness swirling around, I get oudy touches, and it's leathery as well. So there's a texture to the fragrance. So like I said, it's complex, and it sort of takes you on a little bit of a journey. And I feel like when it dries down, I get a mapley syrup sweetness. It smells like dark maple syrup poured on the amber scent profile, and the sweetness comes from that maple syrup. It's syrupy, and like I said, I get oudy touches in here as well. And it's leathery also. So this is not one that I reach for. I feel like it's a bit much. Every time I think of reaching for this one, I feel like I have to be in the mood, because in the dry down, I get that maple syrup, and it might be the component of this fragrance that I'm not that crazy about. I know this has a lot of fans. I know the rating on Parfumo, I think, is quite high for this fragrance. It's also an expensive fragrance. I can't recall exactly what I paid for this bottle. I've had it for quite a while, but it's definitely an interesting one. I think it's in the world of Rania J's Ambre Loup. So if you like that, you might want to try this one out, Hira. So the next one is from the house of Musicology, and this one is Close to Midnight. I like the packaging of this one, and I like this little record charm sort of hanging off of the bottle. It's cute. So I would describe this as a thinned out ambery fragrance. There's air in this amber. It's not thick and as rich and as dark, but yet it is ambery, and the ambery aspect sort of flows with the musky components. It's musky as well. And I really quite enjoy this one. There's a coffee note at the top. I wish it stayed with the fragrance. Unfortunately, it goes away after about 5 or 10 minutes. I feel like I get that nice bitterness in the opening, the darkness from that coffee. And like I said, there's this almost like an ambergris muskiness. It's almost a little bit salty, and the ambery component is sort of thinned out and swirling around the muskiness. But I would describe this as an amber. It's just a thinned out amber with the notes not close together and compact. And when this dries down, I wore this the other day. When it dries down, it's a dusty sort of fragrance. I like the dusty wear. There's nothing synthetic smelling in here, by the way. It's dusty. It has some sweetness. That dustiness, maybe it comes from the tonka bean in here. And I do get a little floral touch from the jasmine in here, but it's not a floral fragrance. The jasmine is not a note in the fragrance that's super obvious. It's not a feminine fragrance by any stretch of the imagination. It's not super long lasting, I will say that, but I enjoy this one. So that's Close to Midnight, and this was a fairly recent discovery. I think I spoke about this a few months ago. So the next one is from the house of Louboutin, not a fragrance line that I have a lot of experience with. And when you consider the crazy packaging here, this is really not my thing. I mean, the little cube on the bottom is fine. It's heavy, it's simple, but the cap is absolutely ridiculous. And this is in the Fetiche line of Louboutin, and it's L'Ambre. And I enjoy this one. I like this one. So I went to Printemps and I sprayed, I think, all of them, with the exception of the most popular one, Fetiche La Rose. That one is like a hit. I think it's like a TikTok hyped fragrance. I still haven't gotten my nose on that one. I liked the leather fragrance and I liked the iris, and I ended up loving this one. So this is Black Amber, Patchouli, and Tuberose. Now, while I'm a huge fan of Tuberose in all different iterations and all different forms, I love a green Tuberose, and here it's green, and it's amber, resinous, and dry, not too dark, not too sweet, not syrupy, thick and synthetic. So I love that amber aspect of the fragrance. So it's nice, it's resinous, and contrasting the resinous scent profile here is a green Tuberose. Unisex, I would say unisex, and I love it. There's something powdery about it, earthy with the patchouli. I really like it. It's doing something different with amber. I'm tired of the same old thing, love amber scent profiles, and I really enjoy this one. I like to wear this to work. I think it's a nice everyday fragrance, but totally versatile, can definitely go from day to evening. So that is Le Fetiche L'Ambre by the house of Louboutin. So I saved the best two for last, two loves, two great additions to my collection in the last 6 months. The first one from the house of Cartier, and this is Oud Ambre. I like the presentation. I like these bottles. On the other side is a nice sort of design, like a tile design. The caps are magnetic, and the sprayers are okay. I have some trouble with one of my other bottles, but this fragrance is absolutely stunning. Really, really nice take on amber. So it takes amber, an amber that reminds me a lot of Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Grand Soir, that type of amber. Very simple, well done, smooth, likable, not too dark, not rich, not gooey, not heavy, and it pairs it with oud, but the oud is definitely just a touch in the fragrance. Now, I will say that in the opening, I find the oudy touches a Western clean oud. I find it to be in the background of the fragrance, only a hint. As the fragrance dries down, as the fragrance develops, in the dry down, I feel like the oudy component comes out. So there you have the pairing of the amber and the oud. And I do feel like right after the opening, right after you get this sort of Grand Soir type amber with these woody touches, I do feel like I get some spices in here, but I'm not sure what the spices are. So I made some notes and I wrote, is it clove? Is it maybe a touch of nutmeg? I'm not an expert when it comes to spices and fragrances, but there is something a little bit spicy, but not like peppery spicy, like warm spicy that comes along with the amber. So it's a little more complex than Grand Soir. But I bring up Grand Soir because I feel like the ambery aspect in here, the resinous aspect of the fragrance, is similar to Grand Soir's scent profile, with the woody touches, with the spicy touches, really, really smooth. Nothing funky about the oud in here, but in the dry down, the oud comes out and it is amber and more oudy in the dry down. And there might be not anything funky or dirty smelling, but there might be just a touch of something slightly animalic about the oud in the dry down. I'm reluctant to say that because I'm not saying that this is an animalic fragrance, but it does change from the opening to the dry down. And in the dry down, the oud comes out and it's more of a woody amber scent profile. Really, really smooth. I think it's high quality. I think it's really well done. I suggest getting your nose on this one if you have not and you like amber fragrances. The oud is subtle. Very, very classy fragrance. I feel like I see this on a man who's dressed sharp with a sweater and a button down underneath, just as much as I see it on a woman with a smart outfit, a white button down. It's just really versatile, classy, unisex, and I really, really like this one. I like a lot of the fragrances in the Cartier Oud line. I have Santal, Oud and Santal, which I love. I have Oud and Rose, which I enjoy. So this is great. This is Oud and Ambre. Last but not least is a stunning fragrance. Not discontinued. However, this is the older version of Annick Goutal's Ambre Fetiche. Now, I started with this tiny little bottle. I was good. I did not want to spend hundreds of dollars on the full-size bottle. This is a 100 ml. So I purchased a little sample travel size. I was blown away from this fragrance. And this was actually not hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It was $150 with tax and maybe shipping. I got this off of someone on eBay. So I think it was worth every single penny. It's beautiful. So even though I don't know this fragrance as well as I would like to know it to give you guys a full review, I have worn this a couple of times and I can say that I love how this opens. I love how this develops. It opens with this smoky, incensey, leathery aspect. And then right behind it, I get this warm, vanillic, resinous, the ambery components in the fragrance. It comes right behind this incensey, leathery opening. And then I get something in here that almost feels smooth and almost a little bit powdery. I think I get the iris in here. I think I pick up the iris, even though the other notes in here sound so dark. Like the incense in here is a little bit smoky, and the leather sort of brings the amber scent profile into this full-bodied, tiny bit of a darker direction. But it's not gloopy. It's not gloopy, sweet, and synthetic. It's this warm, vanillic, resinous, ambery sort of aspect that comes along with this incense and this leathery facet. And like I said, I get the iris in here. I do get that hint of that powdery, almost like smooth, buttery iris in the backdrop, deep in there somewhere. I feel like I imagine someone wearing a leather jacket, riding a motorcycle with a leather seat. Not that I've ever been on a motorcycle. Well, in Italy I have, I guess. Everyone in Italy drives the mopeds and the motorcycles. So I have, and that's the image I'm getting with this one. I think it's stunning. I think it's intoxicating. I think it's beautiful. I love this amber. I don't have an amber that's resinous and balsamic and warm paired with leather, the texture of leather and incense. I can't think of any other that I've gotten my nose on, or at least in my collection, that smells like Ambre Fetiche. So this is not discontinued. I have no idea what the current version smells like, no idea whatsoever. I've always been a fan of Annick Goutal. I really do like Annick Goutal fragrances, and this one is no exception. This is beautiful. Ambre Fetiche by the house of Annick Goutal. So those are 10 amber fragrances, taking amber in different sort of directions. Let me know if you guys are familiar with any of these. As always, thank you so much for watching, your support, and your comments. Until next time, bye guys.